Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Celtics started the Donovan Mitchell trade speculation early by dispatching the Cavs in 5. But it wasn't all rosy for number 1 seeds as the Mavs pushed the Thunder to the brink of elimination. And are the Pelicans just going to take their pick of Atlanta guards this offseason?
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
Boston Celtics dispatched the Cleveland Cavaliers in 5 games. A 113-98 Game 5 win in Boston. Speaking of in Boston, John Corrales from Locked On Celtics is in Boston on the court. We got to do this quick or they're going to kick him off right now, just like the Cavs have been kicked off the court, John. What was the key in this one?
Al Horford was the key. He came with the energy. He came with some really good shooting. Look, this was a somewhat typically frustrating performance from the Celtics for a while, but also kind of what they've done all season long, meander along, and then all of a sudden have one big flurry in the fourth quarter. And you're like, oh, they won by 15. So it was a little weird, but Horford was at the center of it all. And I think his energy, he had a play there at the beginning where he saved the ball off of Dean Wade, flying into the corner. He was showing a ton of emotion there. I think he kind of led the charge for the Celtics. So if it wasn't for Al, who knows how this game would have gone.
Yeah, it was a 28-20 fourth quarter, or this game would have finished much tighter. 22-15-5 for Big Al on the night. A turn back the clock kind of performance. Yeah. There's been a lot of discourse over the last week or so, John, about this Celtics team. And would it have been better for them to have been tested a little bit more, to find the intensity a little bit more? What do you make of those discussions?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're the number 1 seed, and this is what you get. This is the reward you get for being the number 1 seed. You play a team that's the 8th seed that has lost a play-in game. So they're not good enough to even win their first play-in game. Yeah. And then you get the 4-5, middle of the pack team that inherently is flawed, right? A 4-5 team, generally speaking, is somewhat flawed somehow. And yeah, they've had injury luck as well. The Celtics have remained mostly healthy outside of Porzingis, and that hasn't mattered. And the Cavs and the Heat have lost key players, but that's kind of how it goes. They're always being tested. Every team is being tested in the playoffs somehow, and maybe it will impact them if they play, say, the Knicks in the next round. The Knicks play hard, and maybe that's going to be the difference of facing a knuckleball pitcher and then seeing a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. It might take a quarter or two to get used to it. But, they've played 82 regular season games and now 10 playoff games. It's not like they have forgotten how to play tough basketball. They'll get used to it pretty quickly.
Jason Tatum, who has been under a little bit more scrutiny here over the last week or two because of playoff performances, 25, 10, and 9. He and Jaylen Brown each played the role of facilitator very well in this game. Is this the version that they need, or is it the guy who can score 40, the guy that they need if they want to win the title?
The answer is yes to both those questions. And look, Joe Mazzulla is very adamant about winning looks different every night. And some nights they might need 40 from one of those guys or both of those guys. Yeah. But the strength of the Celtics is their ability to give the game what it needs. Do they always do that? No, they don't. But when they do, they have the ability to have Tatum be the star, Brown be the star, or they can work the ball around and have Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Al Horford be the star. And when Kristaps Porzingis comes back, he'll have an opportunity to drop 20 and 10. That's why the Celtics team has been constructed the way they have been. They have answers all over the floor. And you can criticize Tatum if you want. He doesn't have to be the superstar. He doesn't have to be Anthony Edwards or Nikola Jokic. The Celtics have a lot of great players on their team. And the best part about Tatum, I would say, is he's willing this year to do more of the facilitating, and Jaylen Brown as well, more of the facilitating than they've done in the past.
Stay up to date on the Boston Celtics by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Celtics on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the Mavs held on to an important win in Game 5. Before we get to how they did it, Aaron Judge had a day for the Yankees. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL. FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. The Nuggets can finish off the Wolves with a win tonight, but that's not what is favored to happen. FanDuel likes the Wolves at home and has them favored by 2.5. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The NFL schedule is out and the season begins with a pair of playoff rematches. The Kansas City Chiefs welcome the Baltimore Ravens to Arrowhead to begin the season on September 5th, while the Lions and Rams get together for the Sunday night game, September 8th. Week 2 features Patrick Mahomes versus Joe Burrow in the late window on Sunday, late afternoon, that is. And the 49ers get their shot at the Super Bowl revenge on October 20th. One other notable game, the NFC Championship game rematch between the Lions and 49ers, that comes just before New Year's Eve, December 30th. On the diamond, the Yankees blanked the Twins largely because Aaron Judge refused to make it out.
So 3 doubles also, ended up 4 for 4 with a walk. The Yankees had 13 hits. He had 4 of them. So it was a pretty good night.
I think since May too, I saw a stat. Yeah, in May, he's now hitting 378 in the month of May. And he leads the majors with extra base hits in May with 12. Nice. And we're 14 days into May. So, I mean, that's pretty good line that he's on top of the league type player that he's playing as.
The LA Dodgers fell on the road to the San Francisco Giants.
Eliezer Hernandez wasn't on my radar last night when we recorded. He was by this afternoon. I was looking into it, and I had basically ruled him out because he has pitched really well in AAA. And knowing that if he did get called up, he had to be added to the 40-man roster, which put him kind of on the chopping block when they need a new 40-man roster spot. I didn't think they would do that with him because basically the summary is I thought he was too good to get called up right now. But, he did get called up and he was really good. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see because he has been a starter in AAA, but he could definitely fill a long reliever role for this Dodgers team. The hard part is he's now not available for the next 4 days, probably with his pitch count. And the Dodgers probably have another bullpen game coming up on Sunday.
The Angels cruise to a win over the Cardinals.
I cannot remember the last time the Angels got out to an early lead and then just kept adding on runs. What's going on, everybody? John Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. The Halos take the finale of the series against the Cardinals, 7-2 on the back of a home run from Nolan Shawnuel, a leadoff home run, and Zach Neto hit one as well, and Taylor Ward. Man, the guys were just hitting up and down the lineup. You had Willie Calhoun go 3 for 5. Luis Guillorme, 2 for 3 with 2 walks. So he can handle the bat, and he can take the walk. That's amazing to me. Griffin Canning pitched 6 innings, gave up 1 run. It was a solo shot to Paul Goldschmidt. Hey, Mike and I are going to talk about this game, break it down for you. 14 hits up and down the lineup. That's what you want to see from a team that's been struggling, putting on some good offense in this one. They're heading out of town. They're headed to Texas, and Mike and I are going to cover this game for you on Locked On Angels. Please join us.
The Dallas Mavericks grabbed the advantage in Game 5 and now the #1 seed Thunder against the ropes. Our Locked On Mavericks host Nick Angstad has more.
Let's go! The Dallas Mavericks get the win against the OKC Thunder. They win in Game 5, a pivotal game for the series. And before this game, I had confidence that this team was going to win in Game 5. And the reason why is because I knew Luka had to be better. Luka had to be the Luka that we've seen for so long. He had to be the version of Luka that we've seen in even just the regular season, not even the Luka playoff Luka that we've seen. Absolutely great game from Luka, an incredible scoring game for him. And then Derrick Jones Jr. stepped up in a massive way. The Mavs have had these role players step up in these huge moments. The Thunder have been selling out to stop Luka, to stop Kyrie, who didn't have a great scoring game. Derrick Jones Jr. was the one that picked it up in this one. Absolutely great game for the Mavericks. And now they go up 3-2, have 2 chances to close it out. Could close it out at home in Game 6. The Mavs get the win. A massive one for the Mavericks on the road too. Huge win for the Mavs. Let's let it ride.
Stay up to date on the Dallas Mavericks all year by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Mavericks on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Pelicans are focusing in on Atlanta, of all places, to help them out in the backcourt. The New Orleans Pelicans are looking for a point guard. The Atlanta Hawks would seem to be the best call to make, according to Locked On Pelicans host Jake Madison.
But Murray is cheaper, and for a team that's never paid the luxury tax, we don't exactly know if they will or not. Having a guy who gives you production on cheaper money isn't a bad thing. It's the unfortunate reality of this, even if I wish they would spend all of the money. Murray next year makes $26 million, 27.5 after that. And then he's got 2 years left, $29.5 million. And then a player option in 2027-28 for $31.6. He'll decline that. So you have him for 3 more years. The final year of his deal is under $30 million. He's going to produce more than that when you look at some of the other contracts that are going to be given out in the NBA. So he's a cheaper option for the Pelicans. That's not a bad thing, but it complicates things for Atlanta a little bit, who likely want to shed salary. But getting a guy like Murray in, and more on him, kind of how he would fit, probably allows the Pelicans to go and get a more impactful center elsewhere. Could you get Murray and Jarrett Allen? And honestly, in a deal with Murray for Brandon Ingram, maybe Atlanta needs to include picks. So it changes kind of the nature of this. DeJounte Murray is very different than Trae Young. He does not have the same kind of court gravity at all. And he's maybe slightly closer to a true point guard that a lot of people want than Young is. But Young also is a very good job. And Young, while their time has been together, has had significantly more assists than what Murray does per game.
And finally, Caitlin Clark's debut for the Indiana Fever drew 2.1 million viewers across all platforms on Tuesday night, making it the most watched WNBA game on ESPN. Viewership peaked at 2.3 million viewers for the game between the Fever and the Connecticut Sun. The Sun prevailed 92-71. The game was the most watched WNBA game since the LA Sparks and Houston Comets averaged 2.45 million viewers on NBC for a 2001 Memorial Day contest. The power of Caitlin Clark being felt already. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, will the Nuggets finish off the Wolves? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.